All right, got a real exciting one here for you today, calculating ROI on healthcare marketing, attribution tracking basics. So by the end of this video, basically, you're going to have a good idea when you are spending money on Meta or Google, how much revenue you're getting on the back end. This isn't necessarily a very straightforward thing in healthcare. There's a few caveats and just nuances that we've got to deal with when it comes to healthcare because we've got a little bit longer of a sales cycle. It's not something like an e-commerce where it's very transactional, all can be done online. Healthcare's got a little bit longer of a sales cycle here, so things can be a little bit more difficult to track. Either way, what I'm going to go over is very high level the technical implementation that you need in order to make sure that every dollar that you're spending is being tracked properly. So the first thing we want to go over here is UTM parameters. So these are universal tracking parameters or standards that basically all healthcare or all marketers use. And you've probably seen them all over the place, probably just haven't paid much attention to them, but let's just say you've got your website, your domain name is health.com, and then everything after this question mark are called URL parameters. Specifically, these ones are UTM parameters, and they're always prefixed with UTM underscore and then the actual name of the parameter. And then you'll see something like this, summer special. So what this does is when somebody lands on your website analytics or any kind of marketing tracking software that you've got, like your CRM, can pick up these UTM parameters, and then they know that this person came from a paid advertisement and that the UTM campaign, the name of the campaign is called Summer Special. So that stuff is very important. If you don't have tracking templates in place, then you're just not going to be able to track any of your spend across Meta or Google or whatever other platforms you're using. So this is just like the most basic version of it, just getting the campaign name here. The way that this actually works, though, is there's a little bit more to it. So Google has got their own tracking template. You can create your own templates. And essentially what these templates do is it tells Google when you are running an ad on their platform and somebody clicks on that ad, what kind of dynamic information do you want to insert in there. So this is one that I use basically for all my clients here, and they all start with this open bracket LP URL, close bracket, don't worry too much about that. And then we've got the question mark similar to what you saw up here. And then these are all the different attributes that I want to measure. So the UTM keywords that they're using, the match type, campaign ID, group ID, so on and so forth. And Google, when somebody clicks on this link, it will automatically insert the keywords that were triggered or that they use during this, when they clicked on your ad, that'll automatically insert the campaign name and all the other dynamic values that are in here. And then what happens is when the person then lands on your website, any kind of tracking software that you've got can automatically pick up these values and then determine which ad it was that they actually clicked on. So what I'm doing right here is the same idea for Meta as well. They've got a slightly different tracking template set up here. You can see they use double curly brackets and I won't worry too much about the actual implementation here, but essentially when you go to set up and run your Meta ads, you want to make sure that you've got a tracking template set up there as well. So this is how you actually get the data on into your website or whatever tracking software that you've got. So what happens here is we've got what is called data silos. So the ad platform's got its own data, your website's got its own data, CRM and EHR, and we need to start breaking this stuff down. So as we talked about previously, the URL parameters are going to go from the ad platform onto the website, and this is where the website picks up that information. You might have some website analytics on there that's reporting on this, or your CRM. A lot of the times your CRM, you might have like a chat widget or something with them, and then they should, most of them, naturally just pick up the URL parameters. So if somebody is, let's say you've got a chat widget, most common use case for me at least, if I'm using high level, I use their chat widget, it's installed on the website. That chat widget automatically picks up the URL parameters or the UTM parameters, and so when somebody sends a message to our chat bot, their information gets entered into the CRM along with the UTM parameters, so we know which campaign that they came from. So you probably have got some kind of setup that's similar, but probably one of the more common ones is especially in healthcare, they're probably going to be giving you a call. If the person's interested in moving forward, they probably want to give you a call. So in order to be able to track that, now if you've just got your regular business phone number on there, there's no way that you can track that as to which campaigns that they actually came from. At least there's no way to track that reliably. So what you want is something called call tracking. And there are services that are out there that do this, CallRail probably being one of the more popular ones. There's a bunch of other services though, or a lot of CRMs have actually got them built in. Once again, I use high level for majority of things that I do, so I just grabbed their regular call tracking software and I installed it on the website. Without going through like the technical implementation, essentially what it does is it takes the phone number that you've got on your website and it'll swap it out to have a unique phone number for each person that visits your website. So when they land on the website, they can tie that specific phone number to the actual campaign in the URL parameters. So in that way, when they give you a call, that call gets forwarded to the actual business phone number, and then the CRM is able to identify and say, okay, this person who saw this campaign called this phone number is now speaking with our front desk. It creates a new contact in the CRM, and then it will assign that contact attribution data back to the original campaign. Okay, so now essentially we've tracked, how do we get that data to go from the ad platform, the website, to the CRM, but then you've got to go into the EHR. And this is where things get a little bit, can get a little bit tricky here. Is that typically EHRs and CRMs, they don't really have direct integrations. Main two reasons that I've seen, at least on my end, EHRs, they tend to be a little bit older software. They just don't support a lot of integrations. And then obviously too, this is some of the most highly sensitive and classified data that you can actually have. So they don't necessarily want to open up their systems to people being able to programmatically access it through a CRM. When you've got leads that go into CRM, you know what your cost per lead is now. That's very easy to track. But now how do you actually figure out how many patients came out of that? Well, there's a couple options you got. Number one is you can do dual maintenance. So let's say you've got somebody running your front desk. Every time somebody goes ahead and books a consultation or evaluation in EHR, you then add that information back into your CRM manually. That's option number one, and then you can run some reports through your CRM. Option number two that I've seen is maybe you can add some kind of a custom field or something like that to your EHR, and then you can specify from the CRM which campaign that they came in from, and then you can add that into the EHR. Maybe you can run your reports that way. Once again, that's still dual maintenance there. Option number three, though, that I think is the most flexible, is that you can just set up a Google Sheet, and every time that a new lead comes on in from a Google Sheet, you can automatically add that person to the CRM, and then you add one additional field, maybe at least one additional field, if not two, that you maybe call status or something like that, and then you can say consultation or schedule consultation, and then the next one would be showed for consultation. The third one could be that they turned into a patient. However you deem that to be qualifying that somebody actually is a patient. And then you can also add collected revenue, and that's ultimately where you want to be, is that you're collecting revenue on that person, and you can then start to tie that all the way back to the ad platform. So essentially what happens, just walking through beginning to end, let's say that me, Dan, I go ahead and I click on an ad on Meta, I land on the website, it's for that summer special. The website has got call tracking in place. I then call that phone number, and it redirects me to their actual business line. The CRM had installed the software for the call tracking onto the website, so the CRM knows that since I called from that specific phone number, that it can then associate me with that summer campaign. All right, I then say I want to book a consultation, so then the front desk puts me into the EHR. And then the CRM is probably got some kind of automation to write to a Google Sheet. And then what you just do is, maybe once a day, once a week, once a month, however often you want, if somebody goes in there, they checks the EHR against all of the CRMs and the CRM leads, and then it updates them as to whether or not they showed up for their consultation, how much revenue was collected, and all of that information gets tied back to the actual ad platform in the campaign that you're running. Hopefully this makes sense in order to figure out exactly what your ROI is on your ad spend. If you need any help getting any of the stuff set up or handling all the technical side of the implementation, or just review currently what you've got and where you might have some gaps, feel free to reach out now to us. This is exactly what we specialize in, which is attribution tracking for healthcare practices.